Let's go, girls.
Just tell me that I can and show you things that you couldn't believe.
It is WTF. Why are you already laughing at me? Women Talking Football. Not to be confused with WFT. We are the women apparel producers for Dave Campbell's Texas Football and Dave Campbell's Texan Live. My name is Ashley Pickle. I'm the executive producer of those two entities. Sitting over there from the hostess's seat, as she always says.
But I'm not in the hostess's seat.
Ah, darn. Sitting in the producer's seat over there is our associate producer, Miss Mallory Hartley. Hello.
You ask me why I'm already laughing, and it's because you. You constantly make
like
me laugh.
Train wreck. Just all the time. Constantly.
We are a train wreck.
I could not figure out why my screen was not showing I expected to look down and see the broadcast going on, but it's because I still had it set to see this. So I was just staring at the thing. I was like, are we frozen? Welcome in, friends.
Train wreck.
Absolute train wreck. This is episode 53, the train wreck episode. Not that the other 52 of them have not been. But we are talking to Austin. Head down to the 512, the ATX, the capital city, whatever you want to call it. We are heading down there. We'll talk to one of my favorite humans, just in general, of all time, Corey Mose. He's a reporter and anchor down there for KView, one of my home stations. It's just cool because I used to grow up watching KView all the time. So I'm very excited to talk to Corey about all of that. But before we get there, we are going to reveal our spotlight games for week 8 of Dave Campbell's Texas Football tonight. And I think every single week we always say, it's some of the best games in the state, no doubt about it. I'm not joking this time. The slate of spotlight games that we have on Dave Campbell's Texas Football tonight is incredible. We'll get to that in just a second.
I honestly think that this might be the best slate of games that we have had all season. By far.
By far.
It's had so great.
We've had really good ones, and I think that we've probably had one or two that could get somewhat close. But I mean, this slate is incredible.
Yeah.
So I guess with that being said, let's get into it. Starting off with our 2 games that are happening tonight. We have games happening tonight on Dave Campbell's Texan Live. You can watch these games on Texan Live tonight. We start off with Bryan and Pflugerville Weiss. So Weiss kind of snuck up on people this year. The 18th ranked team in 6A. This one a District 12 6A matchup down there at 7 o'clock from the Pflugerville Field.
Do they call it the field?
Yeah.
But they have
the Field. Yes.
I love that. That's so cool.
Bryan head coach Ricky Tulos they're going to have the work cut out for him, trying to take down the 18th ranked team in the state. Definitely the team that looks to be pulling away in that district. Weiss, one of the very few number of 7-0 teams. But for Weiss, Vernon Hughes has their guys rolling. Quarterback Jax Brown has looked really good. The defense is led by Peyton Morgan. He has looked outstanding at free safety. 6 interceptions already on the season. So that's going to be the big test. This is a Bryan team that's going in there that I don't think will be able to pull out the win, but it would be a big shock if they could get this done. You can see how that shapes out. They're a really good team, though. A really good team that's going to go on the road knowing for a fact that they could shock the state if they do this. So very interested to see that one. EJ Sanchez will have that on the call. If you can't watch it tonight, you can go to Dave Campbell's Texas Football tonight on tomorrow and catch the full recap version of that. Should have thought about this when we were naming the show. Anyway, moving on to the second game that's happening tonight. Let's talk about the number 1 team in 6A, the Duncanville Panthers, taking on district foe, the Mansfield. What are they? The Tigers? Yeah, that makes sense. That looks like a tiger. All the big cats. Really, a fantastic logo matchup here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're live on air. Thank you. As our sales guy tries to peek into what we're doing in the studio. But Duncanville has separated themselves from the pack. Like,
yeah,
no doubt. I think that win over Waxahachie was huge last week. They have obviously the big one coming up in Week 10 against DeSoto. That'll be likely to decide the district. But this is a Mansfield team that only has two losses on the season. They dropped an ugly one to Cedar Hill last week. I don't know what happened. I don't know if there were injuries involved. But this Mansfield team is a complete team, and so I'll be interested to see, again, how much this gap is between Duncanville and the rest of the field.
Yeah, seems like it's a little bit too large, but it'll be a good test for him, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's week 8, though. That's a lot of play.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fatigue, injury prone, all of that. It's like, man, we'll see.
It's district play. Anything can happen.
Mm-hmm. Moving on now to our Friday spotlight games, and this is where more cats, lots of cats. This is where the fireworks factory starts, and it's all on Friday. Starting off with a heated district rivalry down there out of District 15 6A as the Tomball Cougars take on their district rival, the Tomball Memorial Wildcats, in Tomball, Texas, at Tomball ISD Stadium. Sean Bajani is going to be joining us at halftime of this one. Kickoff is at 7. But this one is very important for seeding. We're at that point in the year where there are districts like this one that, like, the first 4 or first 5 or the first 6 are genuinely all going to be battling for a district championship, seeding in the playoffs. There are others that it's like, okay, there's maybe 1 or 2 teams in the district that are going back and forth. But this one is absolute chaos down there in 15-6A between Klein Collins, Tomball, Klein Kane, and Memorial. Tomball still has all 3 of those to go as well. You want to talk about a backloaded schedule. This is the start of Murderer's Row there for the Cougars, but Tomball Memorial is going to have to stop Tomball's rushing attack. Kobe Fisher has looked outstanding. Memorial very well balanced on offense. Their junior quarterback, Aiden Martin, we've heard a lot about him, and we've talked a lot about him on Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight. I think he's starting to put Harris County on the map a little bit down there. He looks like he's developing into a really special talent.
Tomball Memorial, too, coming off of a kind of a strange loss last week, too, to Klein Collins. That was one of Tepper's spotlight games that he picked for the picks video, and he outright picked Tomball Memorial to win that game. So maybe a little bit shaken up there. We'll see. And again, anything can happen in district. This is just a known long-time rivalry, too. I think Tomball last year got the win over Tomball Memorial, but you just never know.
Yeah, you really don't, and that's actually what knocked that loss to Klein Collins, pushed Collins into the rankings for the first time this season and dropped Tomball Memorial out of it.
Yeah.
But that's what makes it interesting because realistically speaking, Tomball could be in for a long night if Tomball Memorial has that we want revenge, not necessarily, 1, from last year, 2, from their performance last week.
Right.
So very, very interested to see how this one gets out. I think we'll have a lot of answers in the first quarter, but incredibly enticing district matchup that will definitely shape the playoff picture down there in District 15-6A. Moving on down, we're staying in the greater Houston area, but let's talk some small school ball, shall we? Anahuac, the Panthers, more cats, taking on their district rival out of District 10 3A Division 1 in the East Chamber Buccaneers. That one, 7:30 p.m. kick from Buccaneer Stadium in Winnie, Texas. Our friends at Anahuac Sports are going to be broadcasting that game for us, Trent Hart and his entire crew, so we're incredibly thankful and happy to have them down there to help cover this one. The Swamp Bowl, as they're calling it. Greg Neese is trying to make Anahuac another contender down there in Region 3. They had a really, really good year last year, a couple of back-to-back 9-3 seasons, which from a program that was down in the dumps for quite a while, they knew that this was going to be the year. Sophomore quarterback Brady Barrier has been proving that he's the truth. We saw his flash last year as a freshman and was like, okay, was that a freshman frenzy or was he going to be able to keep that up? And he's looked really, really good. The thing about this one is it's, in my mind, going to come down to Anahuac's defense because they are pretty susceptible to letting the points kind of get away from them. They can outscore a lot of people, but the issue with that one is East Chambers can also outscore a bunch of people. Hayden Reeves, their senior running back, has just been rushing past people left and right all season long. And honestly, East Chambers defense makes me kind of nervous too. So I think this is going to be a really high-scoring affair with the winner being decided by whose defense is able to make just a couple of crucial stops when they need it the most. So excited for that small school ball. Let's now matriculate up I-35. We're heading all the way up to the greater Waco. Ooh, no, we're not. I had that wrong. Let's stay down in the greater Houston area for the undisputed game of the week. I don't think that there's any argument from anybody, if you follow Texas high school football from a statewide perspective, that this is the game that everyone should have their eyes on this week. There's a lot of good games, but it does not get better than this. The number 2 ranked Columbus Cardinals taking on their district foe out of 12-3 Division 1 in the 4th rank, my beloved Hitchcock Bulldogs.
Your beloved Hitchcock Bulldogs.
My darling team. They've been my darling team since last year, but Coach Schobel did send me a really awesome Columbus hat over the offseason, so this one's pulling on my heartstrings in a lot of different ways.
That.
I love me some Schobels, and I love Hitchcock, so I'm very, very conflicted when it comes to this, and I also love 3 Division 1. There's no denying that. So this game is like my Super Bowl.
It is.
So Bulldog Stadium down there in Hitchcock, Texas. Gavin Moritz will be on the call joining us at halftime. I know he's very excited. That's a 7 o'clock kick. You can watch that game in full on TexanLive.com, but we'll definitely be checking into it on Texas football tonight. But I mean, it's just a rock fight. You know, I think that this is going to be the first big test for Columbus's defense that they've really had to face, because they're going to be going up against Lloyd Jones and the just plethora of talent they have on their offensive skill players. Columbus is really big up top, like up front. I think that the line play is going to determine a lot of this game.
Yes.
But we're going to find out how good both of these defenses are in this game. But this is, I mean, offensive firepower, good defenses, really good
great
trench
quarterback
play.
matchup too.
Yeah, it's just between Adam Schobel, who's just been lighting it up for Columbus, and then Lloyd Jones. It's just going to be everything that we hope for. I don't see any way that this is a blowout either way.
No, I don't think so. It might be a shootout, but it might not. It might not be a blowout.
But blowout, exactly, 110%. So game of the week on Dave Campbell's Texas football tonight. Up next.
Now moving up.
Let's head on up. All the way up to the greater Waco area as the 5th-ranked China Spring Cougars out of 4A Division 1 in District 5 take on their district rival in the Waco La Vega Pirates. This rocks. It just rocks. I love this matchup for so many different reasons. I'm skeptical of China Spring's defense still a little bit, especially going up against Waco La Vega, but I feel like it's funny because it's opposite sides. The best matchup to watch here is the China Spring offense versus the Waco La Vega defense. The La Vega defense has been outstanding so far this year with Kobe Black and all the things that they bring to the table, and then the China Spring offense has been, have not stopped.
Connolly.
Cash McCollum, their core of wide receivers, they've got a good run game this year. I think that it's fun, and the best thing about this is that entire district to me is an absolute coin flip, because between China Spring, Waco La Vega, and Stephenville, I think that at any day those are a coin flip, because at times China Spring has looked like the China Spring we've seen the past 2 years that they've won the state championship. At time they look like they've lost some players. Waco La Vega does really, really well one week. It's not as good the next week. Stephenville has been the exact same thing.
Alvarado's 5-2 as well.
Yeah,
like,
and
it's
that's
just a gauntlet of a district.
Absolutely, and that's the thing about Alvarado is I think that they are very much like the 4th best team in this district, but Alvarado has a knack for picking up one statewide shocker every single year. They did it last year to Stephenville, at Stephenville. They have every right. But that's where I feel a lot more confident than I did prior to last week about China Spring, because China Spring played Alvarado last year and they did what they needed to do. That had China Spring losing that game written all over it in my mind, just because, like I said, Alvarado has that knack. It was at home. It just felt... No, it was on the road. It was on the road, and it just felt like a dicey thing that they were going to be looking ahead, going, we have Waco, La Vega, and Stephenville back-to-back weeks. Let's not worry about Alvarado. And they went out there and they took care of business, and I feel much better about China Spring heading into this week than I did at this point last week. Yeah. But that being said, Waco, La Vega, always a team that could give them fits. They'll be going on the road to La Vega. That's not easy either in Don Hyde's house, so we'll see. But we're very excited to have Drake Toll and Cameron Stewart join us at half to hear kind of how that's breaking down. Moving on, once again, how about up to the DFW as we head to Allen versus number 13 McKinney, and this one is fun for so many different reasons. The last time that the McKinney Lions beat Allen was in 1999. I put it on Twitter. Mallory was about 9 months old at that point.
Yeah, not even a year.
Not even a year. I literally put Mallory was a 1-year-old, and I thought about it, and I was like, well, no, her birthday's in December, so... she would have been probably about 9 months old. But that game ended 6-0. But that was the last time that McKinney... And then there's always the added bonus, too, of McKinney head coach Marcus Shavers was an Allen alum. He's been there for 5 years now and has never once beat Allen under his tenure. Obviously, he hasn't been there since 1999. But this one is just fun. I think we thought last year that McKinney had the possibility to win this game. It didn't end up happening. It was a really close loss for McKinney, but this is one that going into the game, McKinney's favored by the computer to win this game, and I don't think that there's any reason that they shouldn't be favored. Between the offensive weapons that they have, I think that they are going to expose Allen's defensive backs. I think that's where this game is won, is a couple of long explosive plays by McKinney is going to be too much, barring for the Allen secondary to handle.
I just think McKinney's got way too many playmakers on the offensive side of the ball to fall behind to this Allen defense. It's just not going to happen, I think, this year. No,
I completely agree. So that one should be fun. We're excited for that. Ryan Fox and Colin Brown on the call and will be joining us at, Mallory and her little DFW crew. Gavin doesn't get a woo, but the DFW crew does.
Yes. Here's another one of my crews up next.
Yes, another one. Finally, rounding out this unbelievable list of spotlight games. I am so stinking excited for this. And it's so funny because usually I would be more excited for this game than anything. And then Hitchcock Columbus came up. But how about this? Another 3A Division I matchup. I have completely taken over, and we're a 3A Division I show at this point. Y'all can't stop me. You've let me too far loose. But a fantastic district matchup out of 5-3A D1 as the 9th-ranked Pottsboro Cardinals take on the 5th-ranked Winsboro Raiders. This one will be 7 o'clock p.m. from Red Rider Stadium. James Tritley and Alex Weister on the call.
Yay.
Oh, they get a yay. I thought they were going to get a woo. But this one's fun. It's a battle of unbeatens. That's something to be said, too. A battle of unbeatens in the 4-3-0 with a... I think I just short-circuited. Anyway, this one is fun because Major McBride has been unbelievable for Pottsboro. He's averaging like 238 yards rushing per game, and that's what their entire offense is based out of. I feel like when you take a look back a handful of years ago at Pottsboro, we always expected them to be really high-flying. You know, they're going to hit you with the deep ball. It has completely shifted the tides, and they are all about the ground and pound run game. And the reason that makes this matchup so fun is because this is a Winsboro defense that through 6 games has only given up an average of 8 points a game. Yeah, this Winsboro defense has looked the part, and they have been the key catalyst that has gotten them to this point to get them up to number 5 in the rankings. But the other side of it is they've got a really good quarterback. Kyler Finney has been outstanding. The coach's kid is letting her rip on the offense. So I think that this is another one that it should be a high scoring affair. One a really tough rushing attack from Pottsboro and a better in-the-air game for Winsboro. But whose defense is going to stop it? And as of right now, it's been Winsboro.
Yeah, I think
but
so.
If they can crank out Pottsboro, the key for Pottsboro on this game is going to be running the clock down. Like, you do not want to give Winsboro the chance to score quickly and your defense have to be back out on the field. So that's going to be the biggest thing is Pottsboro is going to want to take this ball, give it to Major McBride, and just let him crank out those yards, long extended drives. And Winsboro's defense is going to want to force some turnovers to get the ball back into their offensive hand. But very, very excited for that one. So go ahead.
I love that we have two games of 3 Division I matchups. Both are in the same district, and both teams are ranked. So Pottsboro and Winsboro, and then
we have 3.
Columbus and Hitchcock.
And East Chambers and Anahuac. They're 3A Division I too.
Yeah, but they're not ranked.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, they're in the same, like, both teams are in the same district and ranked.
Got it.
State
I see
ranked,
what you're saying.
which I think is, I just think that's cool. Within the same district, having 2 teams, like, state ranked.
Yeah, and that's 4 teams out of the top 10.
Especially, and that's what I was going to say, too. Like, I think that's crazy.
Yeah, that's 40% of the ranked teams.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
so.
that is cool. So there you go. We
slate.
weren't kidding. An unbelievable slate of games on TexanLive.com this entire weekend. So you can obviously watch those games in full, but we highly encourage you, if you're going to do that, go ahead and double screen it and put Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight on, because then you'll be able to keep up with all the rest of those games. It's a red zone, NFL red zone style show. We bounce around. We'll be talking to people. We've got different feature stories. It is a lot of fun. Not to mention, Greg Powers on the desk is the analyst this week. So we are incredibly excited to talk to him, because there is always a very good amount of recruiting knowledge to be dropped there. So there you go. Watch Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. for free on Dave Campbell's Texan Live. Up next, we're going to be visited by Corey Mose, our boy from down there in ATX. But before then, let's hear from our sponsors at VCR Now. Born and bred in Texas hits a little different, as it should. Texas loves doing business with fellow Texans. VCR Now takes its Texas roots as seriously as its many partnerships with schools and universities around the state. It's also why we're so proud to promote our brand in the pages of the Texas Bible, Dave Campbell's Texas Football, and on the airwaves of Texas Football Today. Driven by producing quality broadcast video, state-of-the-art audio, and LED video scoreboards at affordable prices, VCR Now makes sure to listen to your needs in its athletic department before recommending the next best steps. Building great products is our business, and it's our focus on building meaningful, long-term partnerships with our clients that sets us apart. From our 24/7, 365-day help desk, the training lab in our hometown of Red Oak, or our sports marketing business plan that puts money back in the hands of our athletic departments we support, VCR Now is built to last. Reach out to us today at info@vcrnow.com or by calling 855-GO-VCR-NOW. Again, that's info@vcrnow.com or by calling 855-GO-VCR-NOW. Always great to hear from our good friends at VCR Now. Speaking of always great to hear from our good friends, as I realized that I did not put my headphones on and I would not be able to hear from our good friend.
Wouldn't.
But don't worry, they are now on. And now I can welcome in our guy down from KView in Austin, Texas, sports anchor and reporter, a very good friend, Corey Mose. How are you, man?
What's poppin'? Yo, great to hear your voice too, Ashley. How you doing?
I'm well, man. We're so pumped to have you on. And that's what I want to. So Corey and I go way back, first off, because we were actually
way back
interns together. Yeah, now that makes it sound old. Shoot, man. But we were interns together at Fox Sports Southwest in the spring of 2019.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Oh
we
my
interned,
gosh.
and our buddy Josh Conrad too, who now works with the Big 12. So imagine that, the three of us causing ruckus. I don't know how they allowed us all to be in at the same time. But there's a little bit about Corey. But Corey, anytime that we bring someone onto the show, we love to give you a little bit of a chance to tell us a little bit about your backstory, where you came from, and how you made it down there to KView.
Yeah, facts. So I went to UT Arlington, Mav up, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
didn't have a football team though, so I wish I would have went to a couple mean green tailgates back in my day. I should have done that. But yeah, so went to UTA, graduated, got a job out in West Texas, Midland, Odessa, home of the Friday Night Lights, Permian Panthers. Of course, Midland Lee, Midland High, Odessa High, who actually beat Permian last week. first time in a decade that Odessa High has beat Permian. So shout out Dusty Ortiz, the head coach out there. But was out there for 2.5 years. Eventually, KVU found me on social media on Twitter, and lo and behold, they're like, "You want to come to Austin?" I say, "Heck yeah, I do." Not rushing out of West Texas, but
Yeah.
a little more green out here. Nothing crazy. A little more water out here. So yeah, accepted the job out in KVU about a year ago. July 5th was my first day last year, and now I've been here a year and some change, and just loving it, man. Just loving everything about Austin.
Love that. Speaking of Austin, so when we start talking about regions across the state of Texas, obviously some of them are vast from a geographic perspective. Some of them are vast from just the number of teams that they have. Austin, in particular, in the way that we section it out, with 6A teams, there's 20 different teams in Austin. And what's crazy is 5 of them are ranked in the top 25. I mean, that's a lot of teams per capita. For only having 20 teams and 5 of them are ranked teams, that's huge. I mean, it's just really good pedigree football. And we'll get to some of the more I would consider them newcomers in a minute, but let's talk about the 2 it girls. All right, Austin Westlake, Austin Lake Travis. Both of those teams have historically forever been the 2 that are always going to be in the rankings. Not a shocker to see them this year. Both of those teams obviously doing their thing. You don't talk about them much until you start getting into playoffs, but what have you seen from those 2 teams this year that you've liked so far?
Well, it's just something that we've seen in years past. It all starts on defense, right? These defenses are always going to be shutting teams down out here. They're always going to defend well, and they're going to trust that their offense can put some points on the board. Now, this year has been a little bit different, though. I will say that when it comes to the talent, I would say for particularly that game, Westlake and Lake Travis, when they faced each other, Jack Kaiser was the guy, the man that kind of took over for Westlake, and we're talking about a 5'5", 5'6" running back, taking over for Westlake, and that's something that you haven't really seen in years past. You usually have those big star receivers, whether it was Garrett Wilson back in the day for Lake Travis, or even last year with Jaden Greathouse, who's balling up in Notre Dame right now, Keaton Quebeca, who's at Kansas right now. They played for Westlake a year ago, and so you always had the guys on the outside that would do some things, but this year's been kind of different, more kind of run heavy. Lake Travis this year has a kid named Nico Hamilton at running back who's stellar. He's trying to stay healthy, but that's been up and down this year. But as I say though, like the running game has been kind of more important for these 2 teams more than years past, and the defense is always staying strong. So those are kind of like the pinnacles, I feel like, and the foundation for these 2 teams. But man, we talk about these newcomers. Vandergrift is that team, I feel like, this year.
Yeah, and kind of speaking to that, when we're always talking about the Austin region, you always have to talk about, of course, the It Girls. But like you said, there's been a couple of other teams that have kind of stepped up in the past. Dripping Springs, and last year, Austin Vandergrift making it to the 6A Division II state championship. How cool is it to see these other contenders kind of step up and compete with the Austin Westlake and the Lake Travises of Austin?
Oh, it's dope, right? Because then it's like you're putting more schools on the map, and now not only just for high school, right? But I kind of look post high school. And so when it comes to recruits and when it comes to colleges looking at the Austin region as a whole, it's not just, hey, we're just going to go visit Westlake and Lake Travis. Like, no, we have to stop at Vandergrift. We have to stop at Dripping Springs. Heck, this year you have to stop at Weiss. I mean, they got some ballers out there. And so when it comes to just the culture of Austin football, it's growing, it's notoriety, and it's really cool to see that, man, you have the traditional guys still playing well. It's not like they're falling off. It's just that more schools are now stepping up to the plate and putting on for the city.
Have there been any teams that maybe have exceeded your expectation at all heading into this year? We know we've mentioned it so many times. We know about the Westlake, we know about the Lake Travis, but has there been anybody? And the answer really might be Weiss, because I think they shocked everybody.
That's the person that comes to mind, though.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, they got a new head coach out there. It's Coach Hughes, his first year, and actually we covered a game earlier this year with Weiss, and I asked Adrian Wilson after the game, kid that's going out to Oregon next year. Like, what is the difference, bro? Like, what is the difference from last year to this year? And he literally says Coach Hughes. Like,
wow.
the intensity that he brings, the fire that he brings on defense, and you see it in the way they play. They're flying around, specifically on defense. They are flying around and they're hitting guys hard. And it's really cool. Like, it's really cool to see it. And I'm like, man, y'all just have so much kind of like personality now, you know,
Yeah.
and they have an identity on the defensive side of the ball. You know what you're going to do on offense with Adrian and them. You know, you already know they're going to put up points. Jax Brown, the quarterback, he's been slinging the rock around. He has real control of that offense. But on defense, man, they are shutting people down, and they have tested all the Coach Hughes.
Man, it looks like that old Cedar Park, like Black Rain defense. That's what, watching Weiss, that's the only thing that I can keep thinking about.
And Adrian Wilson is a guy that we're going to be talking about a little bit later on. But what are some of those other guys that you have seen maybe in person this year that have just blown off the doors of the entire region?
Well, you talk about people that came out of nowhere. I kid you not, I have been praising this kid's name since the first time I met him. Damani Stewart from Westwood, running back. If you don't know who Damani Stewart is, oh my goodness, we need to start talking about him. And the reason why you may not know about him, because he just started playing football 2 years ago.
Wow.
So yeah, crazy. Now, before I go into his story, let me just read the stats off this year. So he has 1,200 yards on the year already. He's averaging 200 yards a game. He's averaging 200 yards a game with 16 touchdowns. And so, yeah, this kid, he's ridiculous. So he's from Jamaica. He came over, and basically during COVID, he was taking a PE class, right? And he was the only person in the class that was actually doing the workout. You know, during COVID, you're doing a remote PE class. And so no one's really like doing those workouts except Damani. And so the PE teachers were like, hey, you ever thought about like playing football? And he's like, no, but I guess I'll try. He goes out there last year, you know, gets his feet wet. But then this year he put on some more weight, and he is just terrorizing the district. And it's really crazy to see how a kid who just started playing football 2 years ago, and he's been clocked at 21 miles an hour earlier this year, which is legit speed. But I'm more impressed with his power and his balance. He's a very stout back. He has everything. He has patience when he looks through the holes, and when he gets through the hole, he has that breakaway speed. And you know, his recruitment hasn't been great because he just started playing football, and he's just now getting social media, so he's trying to learn that whole thing. You know, when it comes to recruitment, and so that's why I'm like been one of his biggest supporters, because like this dude can ball, and for him to be averaging 200 yards a game in this district, that's a big deal.
And you said, what year is he?
He's a senior. So, like, he's having to figure it out on the fly and try to get these recruitments so late because he just started playing football. But, man, he's a kid that when you look at him in person, I mean, he passes the eye test of, yeah, he's going to play at the next level because the way he's built. And now you pair that with his speed and just knowing that he doesn't have a lot of hits on his body as a running back because he just started playing. That's also a pro in my mind if you're trying to recruit this kid.
No doubt.
And so, yeah, I don't know. I just been all on Damani Stewart from Westwood, and I think he deserves it because he's a great classroom guy. He's a great leader, but also, man, he is a beast on the field.
Okay, well, that's it. We gotta text our director of recruiting, Greg Powers. Like, Damani Stewart, look into it.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. All right, well, before we let you go, Corey, this is probably the hardest hitting question from, you know, we put on the hard hitting journalistic hat here. And this is actually fairly difficult considering Austin is the place that we're talking about here. But when we inevitably end up down in Austin, where do you recommend that we go eat?
Wow. Okay.
Like that's,
well, I'm actually, it's funny you say that. I'm actually sitting in the parking lot of Kirby Lane, and I know you know where Kirby Lane is.
Yes.
So I don't want to recommend that. Because I know that's a staple. But, man, I'm going to have to go with Dirty Martin's. Dirty Martin's is another Austin staple, but, man, it's been here for nearly 50, 60 years, I believe. I usually go there once or twice a week. I mean, they just have a great menu, vast menu, I should say. And also, Earl Campbell, he goes there every week. So that should tell you, like, how great it is. Him and his son go every single week. I think every single Tuesday they pull up. And that's their weekly dinner, father-son dinner. And it's a real chill spot. You see a bunch of pictures of Texas football players who've been there in the restaurant. And Arch Manning already has his picture up on the wall. It's like, dude, you just got here. You know, how do you already have your picture up? You haven't played a snap yet for UT, but you know,
he doesn't even go here.
Manning, I guess. And so, yeah, it's just one of those historical places that once you walk in, you're like, man, you love seeing these type of places in the communities because it has so much history.
That rules. We'll have to go down there and check it out. Well, he is Corey Mose. He's Lance Pickle's favorite reporter across the state of Texas.
Hey, shout out Papa Pickle, bro.
Let's go.
Oh man.
He texts me frequently, and he's like, "Oh, my boy Corey said this on the news." My boy. So yeah, you have you have one incredibly loyal follower, and his name is Lance Pickle. So Corey, man, appreciate you coming on. Best of luck for the rest of the season, and hopefully we'll see you at AT&T Stadium in December.
Yeah, Lord willing, man. I think one of these teams will be able to make it for sure.
Thanks,
Absolutely. There he goes. KVU sports anchor and reporter Corey Mose. I'm not joking. That is like all due respect to every other reporter we've had on. That is my dad's favorite reporter across the entire state.
He's just so well, and his outfits. I mean,
he's
fits
fly
are always
all the
just
time.
Fire. You know, like he never shows up to a place and he's not dressed to the occasion.
Yes,
like
110%. But yeah, no, Corey and I did. We met in the spring of 2019 because we're the same. Corey and I are the exact same age. And he was at UT. He was fixing to graduate from UTA when I was graduating from North Texas. So it's funny to look back and go, man, here we are again. It's crazy. It's crazy to see the success that he's had, and we're really, really proud of him. So if you're down there, we hope that you listen to Corey's stuff. And man, I should have asked him too, and I meant to ask him this. Him and Jeff Jones and Tyler Feldman, I believe is how you say it. That is one heck of a sports department that they have down there at KVU. Like, I don't know how Jeff was able to assemble that, but that might go for like the most fun looking sports department across the state of Texas.
I agree.
The three of them they're fun to watch on air. So ATX is lucky down there, but we appreciate Corey hopping on with us. All right, you heard all of Corey's takes on that. Very interested to hear about Damani Stewart. I'm literally going to tell Powers about that.
Yeah, I want to look him up now too. I'm curious.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's just a cool story in general, but then too for him to be excelling at that rate right now is huge for Westwood. But let's take a look at the state ranked teams in the greater Austin area. We will start off in 6A, and I mentioned it earlier. This is just actually shocking. For
5 teams. 20
teams in 6A in Austin, and 5 of them. And that's a fourth.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Right.
I don't care who you are. That is impressive for 6A ball to have 5 ranked teams out of the 20.
Well, and there's only 25 teams that are ranked
exactly.
in 6A. So that's a fifth right there.
Yep, exactly.
They're in the Austin region.
Yeah, so the 512 definitely standing out. Of course, the same as always, Austin Westlake coming in at number 4. But here's where it gets interesting. Vandergrift ranked at 5th. We always talk about Lake Travis and Westlake, but there you go, the Vipers. Mm-hmm. What Coach Drew Sanders has been able to do in a relatively young program. We talked about a lot going into the state championship last year, that they were 14 years as a program. Now they're in their 15th year. Drew Sanders, obviously the only head coach that the Vipers have ever had, but he started that program from scratch and knew it wasn't going to be an instant impact. But he stuck with it, and 14 years later, there they were in the state championship. And yeah, it didn't go the way that they were hoping to. That was a DeSoto squad that was just, next level talent.
Talent everywhere.
But man, let me tell you, if Vandy goes D2, looking at some playoff projections and stuff, their walk to AT&T Stadium. I'm never gonna say that 6 weeks worth of playoffs is easy or it's light or anything like that, but they would definitely be heavily favored in a good chunk of those games, at least early on. So Vandergrift has a legitimate shot. Honestly, out of any of these teams, if I had to look at one and say that's who I think will end up at the state championship, I would say Vandergrift over Westlake. I would say, obviously one of them ending up D1 and D2 is unlikely, but if Vandergrift does end up going D2, they look like they have a dead shot.
Yeah,
it's theirs to lose at least.
Well, and they've already been tested this year too. Austin Vandergrift, they actually beat Dripping Springs week 1. Didn't just beat them, handled them pretty well. It was like a 27-7 win over a ranked team. So they've already been tested early, and they just look the part already this year. And I wouldn't be surprised if they made it back to AT&T Stadium this year.
Yeah, and then obviously like Travis and Westlake have already played. Westlake ended up winning at that one. be interested to see if we get another rematch of Lake Travis Cibolo Steel in the playoffs like we have. Obviously, they've played 3 times within the past year. So we could get round 4 later on in the playoffs. That's looking to kind of come into fruition. You mentioned, I'll skip Pflugerville Weiss for a second because you mentioned Dripping Springs earlier. This is a really big credit to Dripping Springs because we rode them off almost completely when they lost
Novosad.
by that much.
I thought you were going to say when they lost Austin Novosad last year.
Honestly,
which
when they lost,
was their guy.
Yep.
I mean, he was the guy last year.
And I was going to say after week 1 because you take a look at it and you go, okay, they lost a generational quarterback for their program, and we'll see in week 1 if they found someone. Week 1, they got there and they just get clobbered, and it wasn't like, I mean, the 27-7, it could have been a lot worse than that in week 1. But they look like they finally found a little bit of a quarterback and that they're starting to get that offense going again. So it'll be a steady build back up to what they were with Austin Novosad. But Dripping Springs, not one to shy away from competition. And you mentioned it earlier, how having ranked teams in the same district. How about 3 there for you?
Yeah.
Westlake, Lake Travis, and Dripping Springs, all in the same district. So Drip has Westlake this week and Lake Travis next week. So they get the very unfortunate
What a
twofer, but
schedule.
if they can claim one of those, if they can beat Lake Travis, they'll be second in that district behind Westlake. Or I mean, if they could go and beat both of them, I don't know. They haven't played yet, but assume my guess would probably lose to Westlake. But if they can go out and get one against Lake Travis, you're looking at a second seed over Lake Travis in that district, and that's huge.
Yeah, I think so too.
And then finally, we've talked about him a ton, but Pflugerville Weiss, what an unbelievable job Vernon Hughes has done. I loved hearing Corey talk about their defense because he's exactly spot on. That's been the catalyst of this team. They remind me of the old, like back in the day when Cedar Park was really good in that like 2013 through 15 era, and they were the Black Rain defense was like the main reason behind that. Pflugerville Weiss is looking to be that talented on defense, and he's right. They do hit the crap out of you. So if you would like to see that in display, a reminder, that game against Bryan happening tonight, 7 o'clock p.m. on Dave Campbell's Texan Live. So go watch that. Now, the bulk of the ranked teams are in 6A, but we do have a couple of smaller school programs, and these are really fun to talk about. So Wimberley, the 5th-ranked team in 4A Division II, man, they have looked the part so far. And that was another thing we talked about when Wimberley lost Cash McCollum 2 years ago. It was, oh man, they end up in the state championship, but now they've lost their kid that was supposed to be like the 3-year starter, the future of the program and all that stuff. But of course, Doug Warren knows a thing or two about quarterbacks. Cody Stover has really shaped into being a special player for them. Their defense has looked strong. A couple of really, really good wins on the year. I thought that obviously their win against Brock is always one that's a highly anticipated matchup. And then the win against Lampasas, the 41-20 win against Lampasas. That was
a statement win. Yeah.
That was really good because I don't think that we talk about Lampasas right now as a very heavy competitive statewide contender. But when you start talking about people that are like very much in their weight class and to see how much they could dominate over them, that one against Lampasas is when I was like, okay, Wimberley's for real again. So they are favored, according to the computer, by 75 over Manor New Tech, the Fighting Ishmael Johnsons. So might be a rough one for the Titans coming up, but they could always prove us wrong.
That's
so
true.
We shall see. But Cody Stover, Doug Warren, and the Wimberley Texans are off to a fantastic start. And then here's this. So breaking down the state into regions is not necessarily an easy feat. We break them down into 21 different regions, and there happen to be a couple of teams like Columbus that it's just so hard to figure out where to put them. Because when I saw that we put Columbus in the Austin region, I literally said out loud in the office,
I heard you say
I
to
was
Tepper,
Tepper, do what? And then I got to thinking about it, and I was like, well, I've passed through Columbus. Where was I going? I was leaving Houston, and I was going to Austin. I was driving up 10, and I was like, okay, it's definitely in the vicinity. But I was like, but it was still a long way to get to Austin. But so we kind of start looking it up, and it's like, okay, well, where would you put them? Because when you go, when you go to the east, the next town you would run into is Sealy. Sealy's over there in the Houston area. Then you go south, and the first kind of big town that you run into is El Campo. They're Coastal Bend.
Yeah.
Then you go out to the west, and you get Hallettsville or Schulenburg. They're in the San Antonio region. You go north, and you've got LaGrange. They're in the Austin region.
Right.
So it's like they are literally equidistant from 4 different regions. Like, and they're just kind of on their own little island, and it makes the most sense to pair them in with Austin. Because you got to draw the line somewhere.
Right.
So Columbus, 3 Division 1, is ranked number 2. Obviously, massive game against Hitchcock. If you're just now joining us, that game will be broadcasted live on Dave Campbell's Texan Live, TexanLive.com. You can watch it spotlighted on Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight. But it's always funny to look at that and be like, well, yeah, they're kind of just in the middle of
Like
all of these things that are already on the very far outer edges of their region.
Right. It's
So-
like, where else do you put them? It's
So I'm willing to hear arguments, but for our purposes, Columbus is in the Austin area.
yes, correct.
So incredibly excited for that one. So there you go. State-ranked teams across the 5-1-2. Now we head over to our Cruton corner specialist.
No,
she's
that's
trying
Powers.
to Wally Pip Greg Powers
No,
out of the
I'm
Cruton
not.
corner.
I really am not.
We
I don't-
go over to
I don't-
Mallory Hartley.
I can't. That's a really tough title to live up to. You know,
Just in
And
general, from a human being perspective, I will never be able to
it's
live
hard
up
to
to
live
the
up
greatness
to
of Greg
Greg
Powers.
and I don't want to put that on myself. I don't want you to put that
That's-
on me.
that's too
because
much
I'm just
pressure.
going to disappoint you.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
we'll
That's
just
guaranteed disappointment.
correct. We'll just we'll knock that back a little bit.
Okay,
and-
that's fair. She likes to talk about recruits.
there we
She
go.
is Mallory Hartley.
She is. All right, let's start in the largest classification here. Austin Vandergrift, offensive tackle. Blake Frazier, 6'5", 260 pounds. That's a big boy, bro.
Hefty.
That's a hefty boy. Last season as a junior, he didn't allow a single sack through all 16 games. Of course, helping the Vipers to a state championship appearance in 6A Division II. And guess what? He's taking his talents to go play the next level at the University of Michigan. Which
Wah, wah, wah.
we could really use him on our offensive line right now. I'm not gonna lie.
You could use a lot for Michigan
we
State
could put
right
him
now.
anywhere, and he would probably be better.
He can come play quarterback if he wants to at Michigan
Correct.
State right
Correct.
now.
Already, I mean, already.
Rutgers is favored over Michigan State.
Yeah, correct. We could no. Anyways, go watch ROF.
Anyway.
ROF. But anyways, he's gonna fit perfectly there at Michigan. Already adding to probably the most talented offensive line in the entire country. His dad actually played at Michigan from 95 to 99 and was a part of the national championship that the Wolverines captured in 1997. So not really a surprise that he chose Michigan, but man, they're getting a really, really good one there. Moving on down, we've already talked about him a little bit. Corey mentioned him because he is just a certified stud. It's Pflugerville Weiss, wide receiver Adrian Wilson, class of 2025. He's got an ideal frame for a wide receiver. He's standing at 6'2", 173 pounds, and obviously I think he's probably quarterback Jax Brown's favorite target. He caught 6 passes for 112 yards and 4 touchdowns last week in their win over Copperas Cove, that's just a lot of touchdowns. That's a lot of targets.
The math do be mathin'.
The math do be mathin'. That's a lot of targets, and he's just very, very fun to watch. He's racked up over almost 700 yards this season and 12 total touchdowns, and that's through 7 games. So that's super, super impressive. He's just an athletic playmaker who's able to stretch the field and dominate in the deep passing game, and he's just a great route runner too. And he's originally committed to TCU back in June, I believe, but then in July he flipped his commitment to go play at Oregon. So kind of an interesting flip there,
Yeah,
but Oregon could use him.
correct.
I mean, Bo Nix isn't going to be there next year, but like
Go Ducks.
I'm sure they got a good quarterback in the coming years. Coming on, why are you holding the Rutgers?
I don't know.
I thought you wanted to say
No,
something
it was
about them.
no, I didn't.
Okay. Let's keep it rolling then, I guess, with Round Rock corner back Leonard Moore. one of the top-rated corners in the class of 2024. He only 3 catches on 282 pass coverage snaps as a junior last season. Absolutely a lockdown corner with insane athletic ability. And we actually got to see him play a little bit in action this summer at the Texas State 7-on-7 tournament this year. And if you remember, Round Rock was the Division I championship of that. So he was a crucial in that win there, and will potentially go join Austin native Jaden Greathouse. He is currently committed to go play for the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame next year. But again, we
got to stop sending good players to Notre Dame. I've had enough of it. It's time for that to be done.
I know, but like, he would be really, really good.
Oh
at
my
Notre
God,
Dame. He would
absolutely,
be really, really good at Notre Dame.
I just know too many annoying Notre Dame fans that reside in and around our workplace, like Ishmael Johnson,
Correct.
for example.
Yes.
Or our host Nick Laupius, for example.
Yes. I mean, shout out to Jaden Greathouse though. He's done
oh my God,
phenomenal job as a true freshman this year too. He's really made a name for himself there, and
I don't think it's exactly compared, but I think that he's having a Jackson Smith in the Jigba year.
Oh, yeah.
Like how Jackson Smith came out at Ohio State and instantly started making an impact.
And he's an instant impact
he was
player.
even more instant than what JSN was.
Yeah. Because I don't think JSN even started as a
He didn't start as a freshman, but he got, I think because of injury, he got put in to one of the games like a handful of the way down. Oh, it might have been the bowl game his freshman year that he got put in, and then he popped off, if I remember correctly.
Yes, you're right. Moving on down to Wimberley quarterback Cody Stover. You've kind of mentioned him already, but he's only a junior. That's accomplished quite a bit with a state championship appearance, of course, under his belt, and he was only a sophomore when that happened. He's putting up over 3,500 yards and 51 total touchdowns last season, and then through 6 games this season, he's thrown for over 1,300 yards with a completion percentage of 73 and 21 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions. It's pretty dang good.
Yeah, he's been the truth. Wimberley never has an issue developing quarterbacks, but he's been a very pleasant surprise for the Texans.
He's also ran for almost 500 yards and 10 touchdowns this season, using a little bit more of his leg strength. And he's a certified stud on the field who can just read defenses and make decisions on the fly. It just makes him such an adaptable kind of quarterback. He doesn't have any offers yet, I don't think, but again, he's only a junior. He's still young. Wouldn't be surprised to see some more of those rolling in as the year goes on. And let's round it all out with Columbus quarterback Adam Schobel, son of head coach Schobel.
Oh my God, the whole Columbus town is Schobels. There's nothing but Schobels.
Yeah, there's another one too on the team. I think his brother plays on the team as well.
Yes.
So
like literally, there's nothing but Schobels.
I love that.
That's
awesome.
how I knew when I was driving through Columbus that I got to Columbus, because there was a massive sign that said "Come eat at Schobels," which is their restaurant. every time we ask Coach Schobel, like, "Do you get to eat for free there?" Like,
what does he say?
I think he said, "What did he say?"
hope so.
He was like, "Oh yeah, they take care of me."
I was gonna say, I really hope so.
Yeah, I told him if he sent me a hat, I would find a time to go down there and eat at Schobel. So that's still on my to-do list if you ever want to.
Yeah.
Can we make a trip down to Columbus so that we can go eat at Schobel's?
Yeah, that works for me. Let's go now.
With all the Schobels. They're
go
all
right
there.
now.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
After the show. After the show, of course. We got to finish the show.
I was just going to peace out.
Oh, all right. Well, we can do that too. We'll see you next Thursday. But anyways, another junior quarterback who's been a baller this year, having thrown for over 1,200 yards and 19 touchdowns this season, and with only throwing 1 interception. He's got great size, standing at 6'4".
He's a big Schobel.
6'4". He's a big Schobel. I wonder if he's taller than his dad.
Coach Schobel's a pretty big dude.
Yeah, I was gonna say. They've just got size in that family.
Yeah, I would have my guess is he's 6'4" or 6'3".
Yeah, because you know what? You know what's funny? His dad played at TCU.
Mm-hmm.
His uncle also played at TCU.
Mm-hmm.
You know where he's committed to?
TCU.
Baylor.
Yeah.
Woo! Little bit of a riff there. But man, Baylor's getting a good one. He's a strong passer with incredible accuracy, throwing at nearly 70% this season. And again, he's currently committed to play for the Baylor Bears in Waco, the rival of his dad and his uncle. So I would be curious to ask him how they feel about that.
When Coach Schobel played for the Eagles,
mm-hmm.
he was listed at 6'5". 6'5", 263 pounds.
That's crazy.
if he has shrunk an inch in his, I'll get him to yell at me, in his old age, they would be the same height.
That's insane.
But he was listed in 2006 at 6'5".
That's a big family.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder how big his
When you
brother
eat at
is.
Shobles, you eat at Shobles.
It's all the Shobles, yeah. If you want to grow, eat at Shobles.
Correct.
So there
you need to go so you'll be like taller than 5 foot negative or whatever you are.
Yeah, you're wearing for those of you that don't know, I am like 5'3", maybe.
On a good day.
On a good day. You are wearing a little bit of a heel today. I'm flat foot. So she is just towering over me right now.
True story here. As we round out the Austin Regional breakdown, so very excited.
Yes. A lot of talent in the Austin region. Surprise, surprise. There always is. But yeah, we picked a good 5 players to talk about.
Now, quick story. I think everybody knows, but if you don't, Mallory and I live together. We have a house. So this morning,
which is the best thing in the entire world.
Oh, it should not be allowed.
No.
We broke the system. But yeah, so I'm about like 5'8". I'm like 5'7 3/4.
Yeah.
If you want to get really technical. I think my license says 5'7". I typically round up to 5'8" because with shoes I'm 5'8".
Yeah.
I'm wearing little booties that have a heel on them, and so I'm right about 6 foot tall right now when I stand up, like with the additional inches there, or probably right at 6 foot because they're about 4 inches. So I was in my closet getting ready. I have a large closet. I get ready in there, but I was in my closet getting ready, and I hear her start walking, and she was like, "Hey, quick question on this." And I just turn and I look, and she is in flats, like completely flat-footed. I'm like 6 foot tall, and I was like, "Yes, child." Like, how can I help you?
Yes, Mom.
Like, it was just funny because usually, like, I always know that I'm a good bit taller than you.
Yeah.
But I don't ever feel like I'm just absolutely towering over you.
Right.
I felt like you looked like a little kid walking up to me this morning. It was like, hello.
I almost asked you. I was like, maybe I should put on my heels too, just so I don't feel small.
Small. I'm a small girl. Anyway. Yeah, we look funny today standing next to each other, which are just two very polar opposite humans.
We really are. But the same in a lot of ways.
But we had big hearts. Well, I think that's going to do it for us. That's about all I got. That's all she wrote. Until the fat lady sings. Isn't that the quote?
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
watch Texas football tonight.
Please watch Dave Campbell's Texas football tonight because we have
tomorrow
just
night.
Yes, tomorrow night. What is
Don't
today?
watch it tonight because it's not on tonight. Watch it tomorrow night.
You can go
watch
back
Dave
and
Campbell's
rewatch.
Texas football tonight. Tomorrow night.
The name. That's just like every time I go to set up for Texas football today, it feels wrong.
Yeah,
like
right.
I go to you know how many times I've typed out the tweet like Texas
I
football
always see you
today
like quote
is
it and you're
live,
like, yeah.
And I always put Texas football tonight, and I'm like, I did it again.
Yeah, I did it again.
We gotta get better at naming things. All right, well. That'll do it for us. We'll be back next Thursday on this show, WTF, a very appropriately well-named show because they left it up to the women.
Yes.
Tomorrow we'll be on Dave Campbell's Texas Football Tonight. I hope you'll come join us. I have nothing else to say. Enjoy your football weekend.
Go Cougs.